A promising young student made a new friend on the internet. He was completely unaware of the fatal mistake he'd made in the friendly town of Cackrum in the Tandridge district of Surrey, England. Breck Bednar and LaFave welcomed their first child. It was a healthy baby boy they named Breck as a tribute to Breckenridge, where the couple met and fell in love. 3 years later, the family grew even more when Lauren gave birth to triplets. Lauren recalled that Breck adored his siblings and spent a lot of time playing with them growing up. The warm-hearted big brother excelled in school and was popular among his peers. He was even a member of the Air Cadets with the 135 Squadron and Red Hill and regularly attended church services in his hometown. Everything seemed to be going great for a while, but then Barry and Lauren separated just 6 years after the triplets were born. While Barry moved out of the family home, he remained an active figure in his children's lives. However, there was something dark brewing under the surface of Breck's perfect exterior. Around his 14th birthday, Lauren started to notice some troubling changes in her eldest son. Namely that he would isolate himself in his room and play computer games for hours on end. On top of that, his moods were wildly unpredictable. And he began neglecting the things he once found very important, like going to church and participating in sessions for the Army Training Corps. Her once vibrant and outgoing son became increasingly irritable and disobedient. Lauren knew she had to figure out what was going on. These are all classic symptoms of depression. He also had another key symptom of depression, irritability, which sometimes presents instead of the more commonly known symptoms of depressed mood or sadness. Irritability is found in the diagnostic criteria of depression for kids and adolescents, but not for adults. Then Breck started talking about an internet friend named Louis. Lauren was familiar with the small number of friends involved in her son's gaming club, but had never heard of Louis before. Call it mother's intuition, but Lauren just felt something was off about Louis, even speculating that he might not be the young gamer he claimed to be online. Still, Breck's preoccupation with his new friend snowballed out of control. And before long, he was talking about him all the time and becoming more withdrawn than ever. Lauren attempted to limit Breck's communication with Louis, but he always found ways around her restrictions, so the uneasy mother felt she had no choice but to call the Surrey police and report her concerns. She explained to the responding operator that she thought her son was being groomed by an older predator pretending to be a young boy. At the end of the call, the operator said that officers would check out Louis. But unfortunately that never happened and the inquiry was closed just an hour later. On February 16, 2014, after a year of talking online, Breck finally planned a secret rendezvous with Louis. It would be their first time meeting in person, and he was excited because Louis had become his closest friend. Louis had also promised Breck a bright future as the new owner of his multi-million-pound tech company. If only Breck knew the fatal mistake he was just about to make. The following day was the start of half-term, and because Breck was to be staying with his father Barry for the duration, he informed him that he'd be sleeping over at a friend's house on the night of the 16th. While Barry was happy to see his son out socializing instead of sitting in front of his computer, he had no idea that Breck actually planned to take a taxi and stay overnight more than 30 miles away in Braze. Barry waited for Breck to return home the next morning, but he never came, and after multiple calls and texts went unanswered, Barry called Lauren and told her what was going on. Yet just as the pair was formulating a plan, they were struck with every parent's worst nightmare. Breck's gaming club friends had started receiving horrific text messages containing images of a bloody corpse, who they quickly realized was Breck. The photos spread like wildfire, and it didn't take long for word to reach Breck's family, with some people even reaching out to his 12-year-old triplet siblings to ask if the photos were real. A short time later, Essex police got an eerie call they would never forget. Police were very suspicious of this strange account, and upon arriving at the scene, it was instantly clear that the brutal attack was one-sided. with zero evidence of an altercation. That's because they found Breck's lifeless body on the floor with his ankles and wrists bound with duct tape. In addition, the 14-year-old boy had a massive laceration across his throat. Detectives found Breck's bloody clothes in a trash bag within the flat. And they also uncovered a pile of encrypted electronic equipment underwater in the sink. Lauren, who tragically learned of her son's senseless murder on her birthday, later stated in an interview, "I am heartbroken and lost without my Breck, and I will never be the same. He was murdered on my birthday this year, and so much of me died as well." So who was behind this ruthless attack? Well, it was none other than Lewis. In contrary to the initial beliefs, he really was a fellow young gamer. Now allow me to shed a little light on this unsuspecting predator. Lewis Daynes was a baby-faced, 18-year-old unemployed computer engineer who spent most of his time playing online games. Investigators later determined that Lewis had complete control of the specific server used by the Boys and Bricks Gaming Club, but apparently none of them really knew him. At 16, Lewis moved out of his family home and allegedly became very isolated from the outside world. Then he created an online persona that portrayed him as a multimillionaire and started chatting with the younger boys while they first respected his authority. Breck's other friends grew frustrated with Lewis over time, saying he would often mute them on the group chat and kick them out of games. However, they told detectives that Breck's allegiance to him intensified. They tried to distance themselves from Lewis. Lewis displayed several psychopathic traits. He was charming, narcissistic, and he loved being in control. Muting the boys and kicking them off the games was one way he exerted his control. He was also highly intelligent. In his creation of a false persona about being a multimillionaire shows that he was a pathological liar. During the 911 call, he displays more psychopathic traits, such as when the 911 operator asked Lewis if his friend is definitely dead. And Lewis lets out a small laugh as he says yes. He is a very shallow affect and at times is condescending, telling the operator on more than one occasion to not interrupt him. It's almost as if he is enjoying himself as he recounts the murder. And he shows no empathy for the suffering he's inflicted. And he is enjoying the power he has over the 911 operator. When he tells her not to interrupt him, he even hangs up on the operator at the end, once again showing that he is in control of the situation. It's likely that Lewis chose Breck as his victim, while in advance, he saw that Breck was vulnerable and he took advantage of that situation. He lightly gave Breck privileges and attention that he didn't give to the other boys, which made Breck feel special and therefore more loyal to him. Lewis was good-looking, charismatic, and he was idolized by Breck. He spent months earning Breck's trust only to brutally kill him, achieving complete control. Lewis was arrested on the spot, following the discovery of Breck's body and taken into custody. He contended the Breck's death was an accident, but his story had significant holes. As a result, his trial date was set for November 25, 2014. However, he surprisingly changed his plea and confessed to the killing during the pre-trial hearing. During this time, prosecutors commented on the brutality of the crime, noting the steps Lewis had taken before the murder, which included buying condoms, duct tape and syringes. On January 12, 2015, Lewis Daynes was handed a life sentence with a minimum term of 25 years in prison. Breck's mother said of the ruling, "No amount of years behind bars will ever change the poisonous attitude and actions of a psychotic animal who can behave this way." The Crown prosecutor also spoke to the court saying the degree of planning and manipulation by Daynes is shocking, and when you consider the young ages of perpetrator and victim, it stands out as one of the most cruel, violent and unusual cases we have dealt with. Lauren and Barry took legal action against both the Surrey and Essex police departments for neglecting their reports of possible grooming. Unfortunately, it didn't take long for the Independent Police Complaints Commission (IPCC) to discover that the responding operator was ill-equipped to handle such a call. Beyond not being connected with a specialist agency, police never ran a background check on Louis Daynes. If they had, they would have seen on his record that he'd been accused of assaulting another young boy in 2011. Desperate to prevent this from happening to another innocent family, Barry and Lauren established the Breck Foundation, which seeks to create a safe internet environment for minors. Their slogan urges gamers to play virtual live real. The Bed and her family may never recover from the tremendous loss.